Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth. I, of course, am your co-host, Caleb Griffin,
I'm your other co-host, Evan Lytle.
and this is Two Nerds on a Boat that we don't own. Cue the theme
That we do
song.
not own.
Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat that we don't own. Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat that we don't own. It's Caleb
and Evan
and
Caleb,
we're on a boat
and we don't own it.
Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat. Two nerds on a boat that we don't own.
Today, we have another little fun game to play. We are going to be talking about the worst superhero movies of all time. We each have a list of what we think are the three worst superhero movies in existence, and we're going to go through them, talk about them, see if they're valid, and yeah, it's just going to be a fun episode. And I'm excited to get mad because I'm going to get mad. Evan, would you like to start off with okay, I'm sorry. First off, Evan, how's your week going?
It's going, man. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's still the start of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going as best it can, really. No complaints here.
So Monday, I woke up. I spent all night editing a video that was supposed to come out Monday. I didn't get it till like super late in the night. It was one of JJ's videos, and me and him both forgot that he needed to airdrop it to me so I could edit it. And I didn't get it till like 11:30, and it was supposed to release at 10 a.m. So I spent all night editing that video, and then I woke up at 6 because I had to write, film, and edit a Spidey News, which is why the last Spidey News I was very monotone because I was just exhausted. And Monday is my busy day of the week because I have classes from 8 a.m. till 4. So it's like my very busy day, and I needed some kind of energy. So I was asking the guys, like, hey, do y'all know any energy drink that like actually works? Because like Monsters to me are the best tasting, and Banger
Mm-hmm.
also tastes very good, but they really do not give me that much energy. So I went to a pod market and I found this. Dude,
Nice.
they don't
I've seen
taste,
those around.
dude, they don't taste like as good as Monsters do or as Bangs do. But you want to talk about energy? For a solid 5 hours, dude, I was going. And the best part about it, there was no crash involved.
I was about to ask. I was
Dude,
like, what about the
no
crash?
crash. Like Red Bull will give me energy, but I have a horrible crash afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
No crash with that. Only problem with it is when I drink one, I I literally peed, I think, 7 times in that 5 hour span. That was the only thing. But no crash whatsoever. So I drank another one today. They have a dreamsicle one that's like really, really good. So shout out to Rain for making an effective energy drink. If y'all can make
I
it better
like it.
tasting, that would be fantastic. But it tastes good enough for me to want to drink it, and it gives me energy. So that's probably
Nice.
my new energy drink. But yeah, that's my week. It's just been energy drinks. Um, but yeah, I say we just go ahead and get into it. Evan, would you
All
like to
right.
start us off with your number three?
I can. My number three, I feel like this isn't much of a surprise when it comes to like what are the worst superhero movies of all time. My number three will be Green Lantern, 2010, 11.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
it's just, I mean,
It's just not good.
it's not. I mean, I think for a Green Lantern story, they stayed pretty true to his character, but like the suit, the acting's not that great. I mean,
Which is
it's
surprising because it's Ryan
I
Reynolds, and you
know
expect it to be
he
incredible.
hadn't learned yet. He didn't know.
Yeah,
I mean, they have some funny moments. I'll give them that. And like the CGI with like the actual aliens, I think it's pretty good. But like when it comes to his suit, it's like this isn't it, man. This is
yeah.
awful.
It's a
There's
very, very bad
yeah,
movie.
there's just not enough to redeem it. They have like some they have like I mean the ratio of like something that could be considered like saving worthy to just what isn't is it's not
It's
fair.
yeah,
So it's
it's it's bad, man. It's Green
yeah.
Lantern in general. He's like one of my least favorite superheroes. That's just me personally, and
Yep.
the movie is just not good. I don't know if that's because
Yeah.
I hate the character, but the movie sucks. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's very
It's
bad.
not good. It's
Yeah.
they. I mean, this is right off the high of Nolan's Batman trilogy for DC, and
Yeah.
they can't achieve that with. I mean, I feel like they could have achieved it, but they didn't with the Green Lantern. So it's a box office fail, and it's
Yeah.
number three on the worst superhero movies for me.
Yeah. Um, I like that pick though for worst superhero movies of all time. It deserves to be
Yep.
on a list. Um, my number three though, I really did not want to put this movie on my worst list because the things that have come out of it have been hilarious. And I really wanted this movie to be a success and I really want to like it, but I just can't because it's just that bad and it's Morbius. Dude, literally there's not a redeeming quality within that movie. Like it it's so bad. And it
Does
sucks
that count?
because
Does it count as a superhero movie because he's an anti-hero?
I don't know. I'm
I
counting it.
yeah,
Like
I count it.
it's
Honestly, the only thing that I give it credit for is the CGI for like Morbius alone. Like I thought it was decent,
yeah.
but
I mean, you can't. I know, like the movie was supposed to come out so much earlier than it did, and I'm sure they had to cut out so much because it was supposed to be out before No Way Home. Like, so I get why it's bad. I feel like they should have just canceled it altogether, and
yep.
waited a little longer. It was just not a great movie at all. Very, 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 very bad. And like I said, I don't want it. I didn't want it to be on my number three. I literally did a search of the worst superhero movies of all time because I was trying to find is there a movie that I think is worse than this one that I can put on this list, and there just isn't. Um, which sucks because the memes are hilarious. Um, it's it's been one of the greatest outcomes of a bad movie because we can laugh at it and make jokes about it, and the jokes don't get old. But the movie itself, I feel, deserves to be in the top three worst superhero movies of all time. That's just
I
me.
think so too.
Yeah,
I think that's a good pick for worst.
yeah, right. Evan, what's your number two, man?
My number two, I don't know. There's a couple. Morbius would have been one. And then I sat there, I was like, well, Caleb's definitely got Morbius on his list. I feel like anybody that was approached with this topic would have like Morbius on their list.
Yeah,
Uh, Number two for me, I think I mean, it's newer. I'd have to say Let There Be Carnage.
really.
I was not, I mean, I liked the, I liked Carnage in it, but I mean, like, Venom wasn't that much of a success, really. Statistically, it did well for like
Right.
what it was trying to do. It did probably better.
It
But like
did
the
better
sequel
than what
just
people
tried to
expected.
yeah, the sequel just tried to write off too much of like the first one as like, oh, they did good, so we'll just kind of continue some of it. I mean, uh, and I wasn't crazy about Woody Harrelson's Cletus Cassidy. He was a little too out there for me. And I like Woody Harrelson. I thought he did like a fairly good job, but like they're introducing like the comics like most sinister villain, and then they off them in the same movie. It's just kind of like I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I will. I do agree. I mean, it's not in my top three worst superhero movies. I do think the first one is a lot better.
Yeah,
Um, the second one I was very excited for also because we're getting Carnage in a movie
yep,
and it didn't live up to expectations. So I respect it being in the top three worst movie list or worst superhero movie list because it just wasn't great. But I do think though I think Green Lantern is worse than that movie. That's just
yeah.
my opinion though.
I think if it was like a bigger list, it'd be like higher up. And then
Yeah.
now that I'm saying, I'm like, well, could have said Eternals. I mean,
Yeah, Eternals was this close. The only reason
and
Eternals did not make my list is because at least it had Kit Harington. Like that is the one
and there's,
reason.
I mean, it had Blade.
Yeah,
It
it
had
also had
director, or
very great CGI also.
yeah.
Eternals had very great CGI.
And I
Story was
think
bad.
I think if you if it was just its own story, like it wasn't connected, like if it wasn't supposed to be connected to Marvel, I'd like it more. But
Yeah,
I'm not crazy about it.
yeah. Eternals wasn't a good movie either. Almost made my top three. It was between that and Morbius for what was going to get number three. All right, my number two. Now this one, I'm kind of pulling a Daniel here, but just hear me out. I hate my number two movie more than I hate my number one movie. But
Okay.
I think objectively, my number one movie is a worse movie than my number two movie. So I hate this
Okay.
one. I hate this one more, but I don't think it's worse than my number one, if that makes sense. And the reason I hate this one more is because this one held more in my heart. The Power Rangers movie from 2017. It is
That's
absolutely awful. Okay. There are two good things about that movie, and that is the acting by what's her Naomi Scott, who played Kimberly, and I can't remember his name, but the dude that played Billy. Their acting was actually good.
Dacre Montgomery.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
acting was good. Everyone else, the acting sucked. It was
Yep.
bad acting. I get that it's a group of teenagers in high school who get these powers, but why did they try to make it like the Breakfast Club? Like
Yep.
they didn't need these deep conversations by a campfire for the movie to be a success. You didn't get them in their suits. They didn't become Power Rangers till there was 15 minutes left in the movie. Rita was bad. Once
Yep.
again, the acting was bad. They did horrible with the characters. Like, I don't think there was anybody who embodied the character that they were playing well.
No.
Um, the CGI I thought was awful. Why was Zordon pixelated?
Yep.
Why did Alpha look so stupid? What was the deal with the suits? Why did they have these weird liquid plasma looking
Yeah.
masks that lifted up? Like, it was stupid. There is nothing wrong with the Power Ranger suit, the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suits. They're perfect, right? And I'm all for modernizing the Power Rangers. I think it should be done because the Power Rangers are awesome. This
Yeah.
movie
And I
tried to do
think,
that and failed.
yeah, there's a new audience that I'm not gonna say they should be aware of Power Rangers, but like it wouldn't hurt. Power Rangers
Yeah.
is classic. Uh, and I kind of liked it for the purposes of trying to bring the story back and kind of give it some new life. But in the same way, Green Lantern shot too high, so did they. They're like,
Yeah.
well, let's just take this, these classic characters, modernize them, and like see what we get. And it's like, yeah, but you could have done way better. Like,
Yeah. The plot didn't make sense. I
nope.
mean, they get hit by a train and somehow survive. Like, I get the Power Rangers are powerful, but if they would have gotten hit by a train before they were able to morph into their suits, I don't think they survive.
Yep.
They're throwing around that paper super fast in the classroom. Like, how did no one not notice that? That the
Yep.
paper was just shifting from hand. It doesn't make sense. Why did Kimberly cut her hair because her friends were kicking her out of their group? I don't get what that was supposed to symbolize. The jokes were just not funny. Like the beginning joke when Matt Lively said, I just milked her and it's a man cow who does not have udders. Like, no human is stupid enough to think that this cow needs to be milked. That's not a funny joke. Like, there's so many bad things about the movie. The constant Krispy Kreme plug in the movie. Like,
No.
and then when Billy dies and Zordon somehow resurrects him,
Yep.
that doesn't make sense. For one, Billy was not in the morphing grid. And Rita did not know where Krispy Kreme was, but she knew exactly where to send the Putty Patrol to kill the Power Ranger. Like, it does, like, the whole movie doesn't make sense. And I want to say to my point that modernizing the Power Rangers works because you have this, the Mighty Morphin comic series. It started out as Power Rangers Mighty Morphin. I can't remember the name of the writer. He wrote one of the Batman storylines. I just had his name in my head.
Oh
I'll
man.
look it up later. But and basically they gave Vulcan Skull a YouTube channel about the Power Rangers, and it worked. They had the Power Rangers dealing with typical teenage problems that teenagers today deal with. And there's a reason that this storyline is still being continued when it started in 2016 because it's good. They modernized the Power Rangers in a way that worked. And it's still going now. It started off as Power Rangers Mighty Morphin. Then after they had their whole storyline, Tommy became the White Ranger. They introduced the new Green Ranger. Then we got just Mighty Morphin, continuing the same story, and it works. It's modernized Power Rangers that works. They didn't change the suits because why would you? The suits are perfect. They kept Zordon the same, they kept Alpha the same, but they've made it modernized where it doesn't take place in 1999, and it makes sense and it works and it's very, very good. That's why I've been reading it. This is the only physical copy I have. I've been reading them online. A modernized Power Ranger movie can work. This one just failed tremendously. It is one of the best Cinema Sin YouTube videos though I have ever watched in my life. It is hilarious because of how bad the movie is. But yeah, that was my rant about Power Rangers. I hate this movie more than my number one, but number one is worse than this movie. So
Yeah.
you can now go.
I mean, I just well, for Power Rangers, I didn't get it because like the original characters just wear the suits and they have the weapons that come along. Like, why did they have to go kind of like a Blue Beetle or even Venom route? Like, these suits are like inside you and give you like allow you to perform as a human being with like better abilities. Like, it was just kind of dumb to me.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fun, but then I sat there. I was like, this isn't aliens and kids. This is just Power Rangers. Like, it's
It did not work as a movie. It did not work as a story. That's why it's very hated on, especially by the Power Ranger community, because they hate this movie. If you weren't a Power Ranger fan, you could go into this movie and say, this movie sucks. If you are a Power Ranger fan, you go into this movie and say, wow, how did you ruin something so badly? Anyways, I ranted about Power Rangers longer than I intended, but that movie is just, it makes me mad. It boils my blood. So,
I mean, I think that's fair,
Yeah.
I mean, because I think they wanted to do what Ninja Turtles did. Because Ninja Turtles they did, like, I will admit that I like the first one. The second one's a little goofy, but, like, the first one was actually really good. Yeah. And, I think it was a huge success, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, well, Ninja Turtles succeeded. Let's just do Power Rangers. It's like, don't.
Yeah, don't. I mean, if you want to make a modern Power Ranger movie, literally go get the comic art. I'm going to look up his name eventually, and I'm going to pop it up on the screen so people know. Go get the author of this series and let him write the story because it's beautiful in the comic books and it works. You don't have to change. You don't have to have all this fancy CGI with the suits. Just get the classic suits that everybody loves and make them teenagers in modern times. That's all you have to do. But why was Becky G acting in the movie?
I didn't get the whole scene where they're like with the fork fight for like the whatever it was. Like,
it was stupid. They gave them a montage of doing all this stuff with their cool powers that doesn't make sense. It's like, and their training always went poorly. How did they just automatically beat Rita when they morphed into the suits? They didn't know what to do. Okay. I'm sorry. We got to move on. Evan, what's your number one worst superhero movie?
My number one is early 2000s Daredevil, Ben Affleck. I mean, I will give the early 2000s credit for some movies. Personally, I liked both the Fantastic Four movies. I really think that they did good with the Silver Surfer CGI and Rise of the Silver Surfer. I think it was ahead of its time. I'll give them credit for the Hulk and Iron Man. Ghost Rider, believe it or not. I'll give them, I mean, more credit than for Daredevil. I'll give them more credit.
Sure.
Because Daredevil was just not it. It wasn't. I mean, they stayed fairly true to the character. I'll give them that. But it's just, they wanted to do dark and gritty, and they did, but it was just, there's something about that movie that's just awful.
Yeah,
it's
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
He sucked as Batman, too.
Yeah. I mean, he was better as Batman than Daredevil. But.
Yeah. He's a great actor. He was great in Pearl Harbor. He just can't play superheroes.
He was great in Hollywoodland, where he plays Superman. He actually plays the guy who played Superman. And it's just, I mean, Colin Farrell gave a like for Bullseye. I thought he did pretty good. I mean, the fact that Bullseye's character just has like a bullseye carved into his forehead, and like
It's
you can
bad.
give him a suit, guys. There's no reason not to. Then they introduced Elektra and killed her just so she could get her own movie. It's like, no, this is bad. It's just, and then they're like, well, Kingpin's behind it all, so I'm gonna go fight him, and that was their reasoning. They weren't actually like descriptive in how he was pulling the strings and what it was for. They're just like, yeah, he's the bad guy, you know. And Daredevil, a blind man pouring gasoline in the perfect shape of his symbols, and a detective walking by and just happening to light a match and throw it on there. What was that?
It doesn't make sense. It really
They're
doesn't.
just like, we know who this was. They're like, how do you know? Like, what? How do you know? It's a railroad. Like, there's a train. Uh, it's just I
Bad.
don't like it. I don't like it.
It's a bad movie. Absolutely.
It
Definitely.
is.
Definitely. It's not in my top three worst, but it could be if
It'd
Morbius
be
wasn't
in the
so bad.
top five for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a bad movie. Bad movie. Um,
Yep.
well, we did not have two in common, but we're gonna have one in common because my number one is the Green Lantern movie. Um, it's just so bad, dude. Like I don't hate it as much as I hate the Power Rangers movie, but that's because I care more about the Power Rangers than I do Green Lantern. But
Yep.
objectively, the Green Lantern is a worse movie than the Power Rangers movie. It's the only time I have ever said, "Wow, Ryan Reynolds, that sucked." No matter what it's been, movies he's been in, commercials he's been in, YouTube video, like everything I've seen Ryan Reynolds in, other than the Green Lantern movie, has been fantastic. I don't know what this was, what this attempted to be, but this movie is the worst superhero movie of all time, in my opinion. It is awful. The plot is awful. The writing is awful. The acting is still awful, even though it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Um,
He just can't save it.
no, he can't. It,
But I mean, he got his redemption with Deadpool.
yeah, he did for sure. Deadpool's fantastic. Um, I mean, yeah, I don't think Free Guy would technically count as a superhero movie,
I don't
but
think so.
that was also very great.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, I'm not hating on Ryan Reynolds at all. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. He's one of my favorite people of all time. But Green Lantern was just the worst movie, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Um,
Yep.
the only like non superhero movies that are worse than this one, Endless Love 2014. um,
Did you go
uh,
and watch it, or are you just saying that?
I'm just saying that we actually looked up
to
like
to plug that movie, it's actually on Netflix.
yeah
And it was
we
the
saw that.
funniest thing. I was scrolling through Netflix and my mom was sitting on the couch and I landed on it and she was like and then I like kept scrolling and I turned and I was
No
like,
no no
no,
no no,
JJ likes that movie. I was like,
dude.
we'll just invite him over here and you can watch it with me.
We looked up like all of JJ's movies the day that the second Totally Serious Conversations came out because we gave JJ way too much credit for his list of top 10 fictional characters. Like
Yeah,
he
I
had
know. I saw on our Instagram it was like, yeah, he still had the worst list.
like he had
And
Bob,
so I was yeah,
he had Bob and he had Dr. Dubenschmertz and Tow Mater and everyone else sucked, honestly. I'll be real.
yeah.
But we went and looked at like his like his movies in his top 10 list. And other than Cars, every single movie was like below 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was so funny. Which Pearl
Uh
Harbor was low, which shocked me because I think Pearl Harbor's a great movie. High School Musical was not low either. I forgot what it was, but
wow.
Cars and High School Musical were his two highest rated movies. Everything else was like below 30%. Endless Love was like 14%. It's so funny, dude. Like, but yeah. So I haven't watched Endless Love. I was just making a joke at JJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Anyways, Green Lantern, in my opinion, the
Green
worst
Lantern.
superhero movie of all
Yeah.
time. And I guess the
I
only one we had in common, so it makes it valid.
yeah. Oh man. I mean, honestly, going back to Ghost Rider, I think I like the second one more. I mean, it was kind of the plot was actually a little bit more serious, and even the camera was like the I guess CGI, but just the filming quality was decent. The first one was just a huge plug for Sam Elliott for no reason. It's like, yeah, he's one too. Uh, it's I mean, like the early Mortal Kombat movies, if you count those as superhero. I mean,
Yeah,
they got powers. I
yeah.
mean, I'll give honestly the '90s Ninja Turtle movies. I'll count those as good movies.
I
I
love
mean,
them, dude. Like,
I know,
I know the third one is one of like the most hated movies of all time.
I know.
I don't care because the first one is
I
so fantastic, dude. The first one is hilarious.
The second one had Vanilla Ice, I think, or was that third? I think it was second.
I don't remember. I'll be
But
on the second and the third one, like kind of got like merged together in my head.
mhm,
The first one is like almost perfect. I love the first live
yep,
action Ninja Turtles movie. Um, when I was doing
I
my
love the new one,
research,
man.
I love the new one too, honestly.
Just
Um,
the elevator scene. like, uh, anyways, as you were doing your
yeah,
research,
there's
yeah,
one movie I haven't seen it, but it was like number one on almost every single list I was looking at because I was really trying to find. I didn't want Morbius on my list because I felt like that was
yeah.
too basic. I just could not find one that I hated more than or thought was worse than Morbius. But the number one on every single list that I found, which I haven't seen it, it's Max Steel.
Oh yeah, I
Apparently, it
liked
is
I liked
awful.
the cartoon. I liked the cartoon, and I watched the live action. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's like the Ben 10 live action. You can't really translate something that's
yeah.
cartoon to
I
live
never even
action.
watched the cartoon. Like I've heard of it, but I've never even watched the cartoon. So I have no idea what it's about. But apparently, it's very bad. Um, I also saw people hate on Howard the Duck too much. That movie's great. I don't care what
That
anyone
movie's just
says.
that's just a funny watch.
It's so good. Blade was on there. Like what?
Three makes sense. Blade Trinity. That's also I mean Ryan Reynolds had a performance in it, but that one's just I mean the first one set the character in stone. The second one's Guillermo del Toro, who's just a master at making monstrous things. So it
Yeah,
looks really good. But like the third one's just
yeah.
it's not the move.
And I will say another one that shocked me that was on the list was Spider-Man 3, which I agree.
I was
Spider-Man 3
yeah,
is bad. It's bad. It's a bad movie and it's very disappointing because the first two were incredible and you ended the trilogy awfully.
yeah.
But I don't think it's worse than any of the movies we mentioned. I don't think
No.
it's worse than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um, I'll be honest, I don't think it's worse than Homecoming. I know people will probably hate on me for that, and I'm okay with that. I hate Homecoming. Homecoming is not a good Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
at all. There's nothing
I,
good about that movie other than Tony Stark. That movie is bad.
and I mean they got the original Batman in there. I thought he did a fairly good
Hmm.
Vulture. I think anything outside of the high school setting is decent.
Yeah, I don't get why they made Liz Allen Vulture's daughter
Yeah, just
or
to
adopted daughter
connect
or
the
whatever.
characters, I guess. Yeah, it was.
But it was not. I hate Homecoming, honestly. But Homecoming's not. There's no Spider-Man movie that's bad enough to make probably even my top, maybe top 10. It's worse. It'd be if there was one, it'd be Amazing Spider-Man 2 would be number 10 on my top 10 worst superhero movie list. Um,
Yeah,
but they're not so bad that they'd be top. And that's a maybe. I'd have to sit and think about it if I was going to put in top
yeah.
10.
They all have some like redeeming qualities. I mean, Amazing
They do.
Spider-Man 2 suit is just it's
Very
iconic.
good.
Really, it's a.
The Gwen
I'll tell you what.
Stacy's death scene,
Yeah, I rewatched it.
fantastic.
It's just a huge plug for like the Sony Via or whatever. Like everyone has one, and like Peter's computer's Sony. His little camcorder
Yeah,
camera it's Sony. I'm like, look, you own the character. You don't have to plug every product you have at the time in this movie.
they kind of did the same thing in Into the Spider Verse where they put the he gave him the Sony
Yeah,
headphones, like they gave Miles the
yeah,
Sony
but I mean
headphones, but
that's fair. I,
you ain't got to
I
plug your own
guess. I mean,
company so much. I
yeah,
mean, I get what you're saying. Um,
yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was any others in the list that I saw. Oh, okay. Now this one might just be nostalgia, but there was another the Power Rangers 2017 movie was not on anybody's worst superhero movie list that I saw. But the Turbo Power Ranger movie, I don't remember what year it came out, is
So
on there.
they count Power Rangers as superheroes.
They do.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that I wouldn't. I'm just
They're not
I know
like they weren't
I don't
comic heroes until
yeah
recently. Like 2016
yeah.
was like their first comic line that they got, I think. But the Turbo movie, it's an old one, and looking back on it, there's a lot of stupid stuff. Like they make a kid the Blue Power Ranger, but when he morphs into his suit, he's instantly as tall as everybody else. Like there's a bunch of dumb stuff in that movie, and maybe it's just my nostalgia, but I didn't think the movie was bad. Of course, Kimberly's in that movie, and I love Kimberly. Um, she wasn't a ranger in that movie, but she was just in the movie. Um, I'm very upset that we didn't go to the Mississippi Comic Con in Jackson because Amy Jo
I
Johnson was
know.
there, and I really wanted to meet her and get her autograph because she was my first celebrity crush when I was a kid watching Power Rangers. Dude, that was it. That was the girl of my dreams at the time. Like, and that's not why I wanted to go meet her. I wanted to go meet her because her character is iconic. But we didn't go. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, so I was shocked that was in there, but I guess it makes sense because once again, a little kid morphed and became as tall as everybody else as a Power Ranger. But it was weird because there's another scene where they're all walking together with their suits on, but their helmets are off, and he's shorter than everybody else.
So
So it doesn't make
just
sense,
an
but
inconsistency.
yeah, but the suits in Turbo are fantastic. They are incredible looking suits. Not as great as Mighty Morphin, obviously. Um, another movie. I'm trying to think if there's another one that shocked me. Uh, Supergirl was in there. I don't think like the original Supergirl movie. I don't think that movie's bad.
I don't even think I've watched it, truth be told.
I've seen it. Like it was a while ago. Me and my dad watched it, I think, but
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. So that's
Honestly,
really it.
I think I'd take Let There Be Carnage out and put Steel with Shaq in it in there. Oh
Dude,
man,
what are you talking about?
dude,
That's amazing.
that movie's oh my gosh. They made this movie on Amazon. I can't think of what it's called. It's Sylvester Stallone. It's like brand
Yeah.
new, and he walks around with like this giant hammer. I'm like, dude, this is just steel. But I maybe even worse. I haven't watched it, but I mean that's just like that's when they were like, well, Shaq's big, so let's put him in every possible thing. And they're like, yeah, well, we have this character that has the giant S like Superman and rocket boots and a giant hammer, and he
It's
just like
awful. It
it's
really is
so
bad.
bad.
But one of
It's
my
like
favorite
they didn't even try to be good with it. Like just the
well, it's
trailer
Shaq.
is
It's Shaq.
awful.
You don't have to be good. Like
Yeah,
dude, one of my favorite Parks and Rec lines is when Andy says, "I'd like to remake the movie Kazam where Shaquille O'Neal plays a genie, and I'd like to get it right." Like,
yeah,
Shaq and anything will make it better. Like, if it wouldn't have been Shaq acting, like you could hate on it. You really can't hate on it because it's bad, but Shaq's in it. Like, you know what I mean? I
yeah.
love Shaq, but yeah. Are there any other really bad ones that almost made your? I don't. Avatar doesn't count,
Uh,
but Avatar's a bad movie. So
I mean, there was Eternals, there was Morbius, but I was like, I don't want it to sound like two guys saying the same list.
right,
So I really think that's why I just put Let There Be Carnage in there because like the merchandise and the promo was dope, and even I'll give the movie credit, like it was good.
yeah.
Oh, uh, Batman and Robin. Oh my, George Clooney. No.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Uh,
oh,
bad.
so
Um,
bad, dude. That's the
very bad.
only Batman movie that like, ugh, it's just gross.
It
It's
is.
just,
I agree. Uh,
and um, the movie Chronicle with Michael B. Jordan and Dane DeHaan.
I
I mean,
haven't
I don't
seen
really
that one.
count it as it's. I mean, it's all right. It's like these
Yeah.
three best friends that like get superpowers, but at like the end they like kill each other. So it's
Yeah.
not a fun watch, but it's not like I don't think it'd end up in a top 10 worst.
Yeah. Two.
Spawn would be in there. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. Spawn was bad. There's two that would be in my list also that I haven't mentioned. Wonder Woman 84, very, very
Hmm.
bad. And Batman versus Superman. That movie wasn't good either. Um, Wonder Woman 84 significantly worse than Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84 was another one with Eternals that was like very close to getting in my top three. But yeah, I
I
think that's all the
personally, I kind of like Batman versus Superman, and that's not like a Batman bias. It's just like I thought it was fairly well done.
yeah,
Um, I mean, like it was a miss because they didn't really set up Ben Affleck's Batman like they did with Henry Cavill's Superman. But like, I give it some credit. I think the
yeah,
CGI was pretty good, and even the fight scene. It's just they lose you as soon as it's like, yeah, my mom's name is Martha. It's like, why does that? What? Like
yeah,
everything up until that point for me is actually pretty good, and then it's like, what? Like,
yeah.
okay,
Um, or Wolverine Origins,
yeah, Wolverine Origins.
bad,
I was like,
bad movie. Um, Dark Phoenix, another X-Men movie that's very bad, which I was very much so looking forward to that movie, and it was a big disappointment because it was bad.
I mean, both Dark Phoenix and X3, I think it's
Hmm.
X-Men 3. I mean, both the times that they attempted to do the Dark Phoenix line is like,
Bad.
no.
Uh, yeah,
I mean, not. I mean, I kind of like Edward Norton's Hulk. I'm not gonna lie.
I like it.
Um,
I think it's
yeah,
hated on. A little
the
bit too
one
much.
before it, I'm trying to remember who it was before that. That's just
I can't remember
Incredible Hulk, I
either.
think. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
I think
I
that one's all right.
I've had a
Hmm.
trivia question about it, like who plays the Incredible Hulk, and I just can't remember
Yeah,
his name. I missed the question, obviously. So,
yeah,
all right. I think that wraps it up for this episode.
I think so too.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Next Topic Media for a lot of more fun stuff featuring me and Evan. And we'll see you guys next week.
More fun stuff.
More fun stuff. December, no,
September
September.
2nd.
Yeah, literally this weekend. I'm
Yeah.
going to see it. My fault. Okay. Bye, guys.